President Trump is continuing to push back on recession fears as the markets continue to show signs of concern.
For the first time yesterday, Mr. Trump announced he's considering various tax cuts to boost the economy. That's in direct contradiction to what White House officials had said just hours earlier. And this comes as companies like Home Depot, Kohl's, and JCPenney warn the president's trade war with China is hurting business and may lead to higher prices for consumers. Ben Tracy reports from the White House.
I've been thinking about payroll taxes for a long time. Whether or not we do it now or not is it's not being done because of recession.
The president says he's not worried about a recession, even as his administration is trying to figure out ways to prevent one. Options include a payroll tax cut that would benefit most workers, or a cut to capital gains taxes, which would mainly help wealthy investors.
We have more people working today than we've ever had before in the history of our country.
The economy is still growing and unemployment is at a near 50-year low, but cracks are starting to show, including an industry the president has often bragged about revitalizing.
The steel industry is back. It's doing great.
But U.S. Steel now says it will lay off up to 200 workers in Michigan. And the trade war with China is hitting home. J.P. Morgan says the president's tariffs on Chinese goods, now costing the average American household $600 per year, could jump to $1,000 by the end of the year.
My trade deals aren't causing a problem. This is something that had to be done.
The president was defensive Tuesday when asked about the impact.
We have to solve the problem with China. Obama should have done it. Bush should have done it. Clinton should have done it. They all should have done it. Nobody did it. I'm doing it.
Democrats now see an opening to attack the president on one of his signature issues.
Donald Trump inherited a growing economy from the Obama-Biden administration, just like he inherited everything in his life.
So Ben Tracy is joining us now from the White House. Ben, you know, the success of the economy is what the president is hoping will help him maintain the votes that, you know, he may be at risk of losing, particularly people who maybe have become disenchanted over the last couple of years. So is the White House concerned about this news that the economy may be softening a little bit?
Well, publicly, no. What you're hearing from the president and officials here at the White House is that they feel like the economy is still humming along, that it is still strong. But there are some mixed messages coming out of the White House. You know, you had these White House advisors really denying these reports that they were considering a payroll tax cut as a way to juice the economy. And then you have the president just hours later say, yeah, he's actually thinking about it. So they're kind of stepping on their own message, in the one hand saying everything's good and we don't need to do anything, but then also saying we're considering some things. What you're hearing from the president over and over again are these kind of attacks on the Federal Reserve. He just sent out a tweet a little while ago saying that the head of the Federal Reserve is like a golfer who can't putt. And this is because the president wants an interest rate cut, which would also help the economy.
Well, and you can't help but wonder what the economy would look like if not for the trade war, but we'll never know. We're going to turn now, though, to the gun debate. The president appears to have changed course when it comes to his support for new gun laws. CBS News has confirmed the president spoke to the head of the NRA yesterday. So what do we know about that conversation?
Well, we know that it went well for the NRA because shortly after that, the president was in the Oval Office and was basically repeating NRA talking points, saying that we have very strong background checks already. And this is just coming a couple of weeks after the president very specifically said we need meaningful background checks, although he gave himself an out by never defining what meaningful actually means. But you heard the president yesterday saying things like this is a mental health issue. It's not guns that kill people. It's people that kill people. Those are things the NRA has always said. So clearly the NRA got in his ear, and the president has definitely backed off his calls for any sort of gun control legislation.
The president's also getting backlash for comments he made about Jewish Americans, particularly Jewish Americans who vote for the Democratic Party, basically saying that they are disloyal. It came after he received a question about Congresswomen Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. I want to play a little bit of that sound, and then we'll talk afterwards.
Where has the Democratic Party gone? Where have they gone where they're defending these two people over the state of Israel? And I think any Jewish people that vote for a Democrat, I think it shows either a total lack of knowledge or great disloyalty.
So the president has been trying to paint these two congresswomen as anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, and therefore the Democratic Party. But this is not the first time that he himself has been accused of anti-Semitism. So is this undermining his argument?
Yeah, this is a tough argument for the president to make because of some of the criticism of him in the past. But what you often see from President Trump is that when he is accused of something like anti-Semitism, he accuses somebody else of it. Or when people call him racist, he says, no, you're actually the racist. In this particular case, the president also has not defined what he means by disloyal. But a lot of people took that as a swipe against Jewish Americans who are sometimes accused of having what they call a dual loyalty, that they're loyal both to the United States and to Israel. That is not a kind thing to say about Jewish people. You have people like Bernie Sanders coming out saying, I'm a Jewish American and I plan to vote for a Democrat. We assume he means himself.
Yeah. Assuming so. All right, the Danes are dismayed. The president has canceled a trip to Denmark. He apparently wants to seriously buy Greenland. Everybody thought it was a joke at first, and he seems to be upset that they won't sell it to him, so he's not going to go. What do you think happened here?
Well, you can't make this stuff up. The president was supposed to visit Denmark. It was going to be a state visit. He was invited by the Danish royal family. And Denmark is not an insignificant country. This is a strong ally of the U.S., especially when it comes to some of the military campaigns and wars that the U.S. has fought in recent years. But then you had the president talking about wanting to buy Greenland. Greenland is an autonomous territory of Denmark. Those comments did not go over well in Greenland or in Denmark. You then had the Danish prime minister say this whole idea is absurd. That obviously offended the president in some way. He went on Twitter last night and said, okay, well, I'm not coming if you don't want to talk about Greenland. We should point out that the point of his visit was not to meet with the prime minister or to ever talk about buying Greenland. His point was to be honored by the royal family of Denmark.
And some of the Danes said maybe they should ask about buying Alaska, if that's the case.
Right, well, if everything's up for grabs, let's have at it.
I think the president would say that's not for sale.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. All right, Ben, thanks so much.
Thanks.